especially people who like I've danced with for like the first time, I'm like, oh, please don't look at my feet. They're gonna lie to you. Like my feet are gonna tell you something that my body is not doing. So please don't look at my feet. Like I try to get right off the bat because it's like because I'll isolate like whatever my legs are doing or what my feet are doing. I'm like it's not that may not be what I'm like leading.
Right. Right.
And also I feel like I lead better when I don't make eye contact, but it doesn't make people feel
Some
as
people aren't really cool with eye contact. It feels a little bit awkward for them.
yeah, I get that too.
In the beginning, I was like that too. I was like, "Oh, it's weird looking at someone's eyes," but now I just like, "All right, it is
You're
what
like
it is."
staring into their soul. You're just like,
Yeah, or sometimes they do have like a weird you could look at their eyes, but they might have like an awkward smile, and you're just like, "I don't know what to do with you," you know?
wait, awkward smile like they're creepy or awkward smile
No, awkward
like
smile,
there's
like
no
just
teeth. They're
like
just
yeah, no
mm.
teeth or whatever. You just met each other first time and stuff like that. Um, yeah, but now and I'm like, do I look at the forehead? But now I try to remind myself to look at the shoulders, but it's hard because most of the time I'm like thinking in my head, okay, where do I go? Where are they moving me?
Welcome to The Mix, a fusion dance podcast where we dive into the world of blending dances and all that comes with it. We're talking about everything from the highs of nailing that perfect combo to the lows, emotional, and mental challenges and more. And if you're new to the dance scene, don't worry, we've got you covered with practical tips to help get you started, feel comfortable, and most importantly, have fun. So come on in. We can't wait to dance with you.
Welcome to the show.
Hello,
I'm Kaylin.
I'm Trang. I just, you know what, I just want to start off. I just totally cut you off, but I just want to
No,
start off
you're
by
good.
saying thanks for, I'm really glad we talk about these things like this because it's kind of therapeutic in a way. And I just wonder if it's probably therapeutic for other people listening and saying like, oh, hey, I, I, I was thinking all this and thought it was just
Yeah.
myself. So yeah, but I just, came.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. Okay, so here's the thing, y'all.
I'm
This is
so
what y'all
tired.
don't know. This is what y'all don't know, right? So Trang just had like an amazing, outstanding, phenomenal 21 star out of 5 weekend doing straight vigilante. I'm talking Batman hours from what was the time? What was the time frame? Like when did the social start and when did it?
Okay, so it was in LA, actually technically OC, but it's called Halloween Swing Thing. So it's kind of like I'd say like a West Coast swing dance convention. So Thursday to Sunday, they have, I would say like half of it is competition, half of it is workshops, and then at night is social dancing. I went Saturday because people say that's the time to go. So I just drove all the way down and it started a little bit late. It started at midnight. Most social dances start at 9:30, but this one started at midnight and it goes until they just like late hours. I probably left at 5:15 a.m. and I'm still recovering from it. So,
Yes.
and then I drove home, got home around 6:30, showered, and went to bed at 7 a.m. So my sleep schedule is very whack right now, and I'm still trying to recover. And it's been 2 days.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, is this are we the things we do as dancers doing these conventions or weekend like you a few weeks ago you did the Seattle Fusion High Five,
Ooh.
in
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are our bodies not hating us so much? I mean, they probably love it because we're moving a lot, but
Yeah.
I don't know how people do the workshops and then at night competition, and then after that they do social dancing.
Ooh.
I will say though, I wonder if that's why, like you said, there was like 600 people on the dance
Yeah.
floor the event.
Yeah. There were.
Here,
Yeah.
it wasn't that much. I felt like there was like 200 to 300 people only, and obviously half of them are leads, half of them are followers. So I was actually able to dance pretty much with almost everyone.
Yeah. You know what? So first that I think that the for the average maybe the average person or someone who's like relatively new, just to kind of give you a quick sort of like frame of reference. Typically, these like dance conferences or exchanges, they're typically or also congresses, right? They're typically weekend events. Sometimes they start on Thursday, but usually Friday. You typically will have workshops, classes in the kind of the morning hours. And then when you get to like the evening around usually 9, there might be a showcase, there might be a couple of performances, maybe an hour or so, there's some music, and then they'll have a social go from like, 9 or 10 to whenever people leave, which sometimes can be as late as 5 or 6. I've stayed to some that have been like to like 9 a.m. Um, but yeah, it's they're usually incredible. Typically, you're gonna have a couple hundred people there, and it's amazing because you get the opportunity to dance with so many kind of people. You also get to go deeper into your craft. So if you do like the workshops and classes, you can kind of play with the things you learn in those classes in the social. You can kind of like go deeper into using it, or you can learn new patterns, new things by watching other people, getting really good conversation in. But typically, like it's look, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it for a couple days after. If you've never done anything like that, like yeah, you may not walk so well for the next couple days. You might need to sit down a little bit. But oh, they're amazing. They're so amazing.
I'm so glad you gave me some pointers though, what you learned about like bringing some snacks, water. Luckily, the hotel had so much ice water. I was like, thank goodness. But
Talk about
Gatorade
it.
powder, that's always helped me in the clutch. And so I wound up not snacking at all because I think Gatorade just helped me power through.
Yeah.
But because there weren't as many people, I didn't have to, I feel like, take a lot of time observing who I want to dance with and stuff. I was able to just go around and be like, do you want to dance? You want to dance? You want to dance? Right. There's still like a little corner where I told you where there's like the people that kind of dance the same crowd, sort of their friends and stuff like that. But it is what it is. And around 3:30 a.m., the dance floor died out a little bit more, so there was a lot more space. But I also posted a video of it on our Instagram. So in case you guys are wondering what a dance social looks like, you'll see what people do sometimes at 2:30 a.m. on weekends. And my friends, they don't dance, right? So when I told them about this concept and just dance socials in general, they're like, this, I never knew this existed. I'm like, this has been done for years too.
Yeah.
So it's insane. But yeah, my back kind of after like 5 hours of straight, I was like, man, I think I'm not having the right posture here. My back got sore, and then I have blisters, which is typical, I guess, but on my left foot. So like you said, yeah, you're gonna be sore the next day, possibly if you didn't work up to that stamina, totally fine. But it reminds me of like college where you just go out for a night of dancing and then you get home and you eat so much food and you pass out, shower and then you pass out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I will say there were a lot of people where I skipped out dancing with because they're locals. A lot of people were from LA. So I was like, oh, well, I'm going to see you at the next dance social, at the local one, right? So I'm going to spend time with the ones that don't look familiar to me. And I'll catch you later. So, and it's Halloween, right? So it's so funny being like, oh, there's a Harry Potter dude, he was good. Oh, the guy with the double ears, he was good. Or the big guy. Like it was so easy to pinpoint people and be like, I want to dance with you again. And it makes me so sad though when I was like, where are you from? Because I haven't seen them before. And they're like, yeah, I'm from this state or that state. And I remember before, and it's like soul crushing in a way because you're just like, no, I wish we danced so well together. And then and you were saying, I remember you saying this, there's people from maybe from Phoenix or Arizona.
Yeah. Shout out Phoenix. I don't know what y'all got going on in Phoenix. I don't know what they got, but whatever. Listen, Phoenix, we got love for you. Okay. We just want to let you know from the bottom of our hearts, from the soles of our feet, we got love for you. Wow. Whatever y'all doing in Phoenix, keep doing it, please.
There were some guys there or leads there that I was like, where are you from? They said Phoenix. And I was like, this is what Caitlin was talking about. We have to make a road trip. I don't know. One day.
Yeah, it's gotta happen. It's gotta happen.
Yeah, I didn't know there was like I don't know if it's a major dance scene there. Who knows? Or just hidden talent or just people we just don't know yet. But yeah, I think that's a part that made it so disappointing, being like, I haven't seen you. It's because you're not from here. And I want to dance with you again.
Yeah.
But we were also, another thing I want to bring up is connection with people, and when you said, oh, there's some people you observe off the dance floor and you're watching them dance and you're like, they look like a great dancer. And then when you dance with them, it just, there's something off, right? And then there's ones that look okay. And when you dance with them, you dance beautifully together. And usually I like someone with a strong lead, someone that's like gripping my hand pretty hard so I could be like, I know where I'm going. But yet there was, sometimes there's like exceptions to that because there's a guy that had like a softer connection, but very groovy. And we had a couple of great dances together. And so I think dance chemistry is so interesting and kind of complicated to explain because it's just like, it's like dating, I guess. You can go on a first date with one person and you're like, I had a great time. You're trying to go on a first date with that person. You're like, I don't know. We had the same conversation and it just felt off. So, yeah.
Okay, so I was talking to a friend of mine who actually that's young, and something that she mentioned was that she actually wanted to dance with a couple of people a lot. And so here's the thing, right? Like typically at these congresses or at these conferences, at these exchanges, there are a lot of people from different places. And most of us, I think this was kind of my thing also, was like, I want to dance with as many people as many new people as I can, right? But hers was kind of like, I want to dance with, like, when I find people that I'm like, oh, I like dancing with this person, I want to get as many dances in with these core people. So maybe not dancing as wide, right? But kind of going deeper with sort of like the same maybe 20 or 30 people. Which sounds like a lot, but when you think about it over like the length of like that time, it's actually not that many people. It's kind of like the equivalent of, I'd say, like a good social, or yeah, no, I'd say a good social, right? We'll say it's good social, right? And I was kind of curious, like, did you find that you kind of went back to the same people a couple, like you were like, oh, you know what? I had a great dance with Harry Potter. I'm gonna go back to him. Ron Weasley, not so much. We're gonna avoid him, right? Or did you feel like you were more like, oh, I want to dance around the entire room, as many new people as possible, no repeats if possible, and like and just kind of like meeting new people and
Yeah, I wonder if this has to do with a person's personality
everything.
because I'm the type to like to try the whole buffet,
Yeah,
taste the rainbow when it comes to dancing, and when it comes to eating out, I'm the same way. I don't eat at the same place usually twice because I'm like, why go there when I can check out new restaurants? So I'm curious if that's similar to your friend and how she approaches eating out. Where some people are like, you know what, I like these five solid restaurants and these like meals from these restaurants because I know they're good. So I'm gonna go for that. Um, and I think I'm similar to what you were like in Seattle, where day one, you try the whole entire buffet. Day two and your day three, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna go back for my second plate, but get the foods that I like now.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm more
Indeed.
like that with you.
Yeah. Now, you know what? The third day was really interesting. I typically am like, I'll say yes to it. If you ask me to dance, I'm gonna say yes. Like I am like 90% of the time, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. But that last day, I was like, I don't want to dance with everybody. Here's the thing, right? Like, I'm like, this is my last day of this event. And there were some people, there were a handful of people who I didn't get to dance with from day one or day two, that again, like, you don't know who you're gonna have dance chemistry with. You don't know who it's gonna work with, right? Like, you don't know. Like, there was one person in particular. Oh man, I don't remember where this dude was from, but there was like a song, and we both heard it. We were hearing like the same thing in the music, just like it just worked. It was like one of the best dances of the weekend. Right? It was so good. Um, Never saw him again. Don't know where he went. Just disappeared. Right? It's just like boom, gone. Just he doesn't exist. Right? And with the exception of a handful of people, most of my favorite dances of the weekend were that Sunday when I was like, oh, we had a great dance to this song, but I think this song is going to be perfect. And like getting with it was like it was just like just moment after moment. It was like capturing lightning in a bottle and then getting more. It's like this is it was like, yeah, so amazing. Ah, ah.
Yeah. Are you the type to are you receptive to receiving feedback on the dance floor? I know people say at socials, that's not where you do it. Dance class is where you do it.
Yes and no. I think it depends. It depends on the person. It depends on the night. Like, generally speaking, I'm open to taking feedback, especially if it's from someone who I know and trust or see and respect. Um, like if there's somebody who, their basic is janky, I'm watching them, they're not, it's like they have no relationship with the music. They're just arms flailing, just kind of just I'm like, I don't know if I trust you and your haberdasheries and hemoglobin. I feel like you're just what's happening here is I don't know if I trust that feedback, right? But if it's somebody who like, oh, they know what they're doing, clearly they have like, they have some kind of like I'm not even gonna say credentials, but I see what they're doing and I respect it. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you have something that you're like, hey, this is gonna make you a better dancer, tell me, please. Let me know.
Yeah.
Um, I would prefer feedback in another environment that's not the social, because I'm already, for me, I'm already like thinking a lot and everything, and sometimes that doesn't help. I feel like sometimes that can be like oh, if they see it, maybe everyone else does, and then you kind of get into that negative feedback loop of like, oh, maybe I'm like, I'm really off or I'm really bad or it's a bad night. But yeah, again, it kind of depends on the person. Like if you were saying, hey, you need some deodorant, bro. I'm like, bet, thank you, that's helpful. If you're like, hey, like, maybe you gotta relax a little bit because your connection's really tense. So I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Noted.
Yeah. I think I appreciate what I feel like I'm always still learning that if it's someone that knows, you can tell they know what they're doing, which here at the convention, I feel like most people knew their basic steps at least. That was the nice for the most part. There might be some where I'm like, maybe it's me, we just had an off connection, or like maybe one dancer I was like, ooh, you're still in the beginning phases of learning. But there's a guy that was he just was telling me, he's like, I stopped doing moves on you because you kept putting your thumb down, which in a way, like I was holding down his arm without realizing it, like his hand. So, and he was saying, like, when you do that, that signals to me that you're about to do a move and I'm going to let you do that move. And I was like, I didn't
Oh,
know that.
interesting.
And that's
Yeah.
something I don't learn in certain classes, or I haven't learned that in a class yet. It's like again, like those little pointers and tips. And so, and he's like, and then he immediately was just like, I'm sorry if you like, you don't want any like feedback. And I was like, no, tell me. I want to know. Cause that's the thing. It's like learning on the job, right? And it's like, you hear from word of mouth, little things. Now, granted, some people might be like, be careful, because some people say different things. But again, I think it's like that, knowing like if that person I can tell is a much better dancer than me, or you can tell they have really good foundation, or they have you can just tell. Right. And I'm open to that feedback but make it quick because I'm about to jump to another dance.
Yeah,
Make
that
it quick.
part.
Yeah. Just make it in 10 seconds or less. But he was like, because some people are like, tell me to shut up if you don't want to hear this. And I'm like, no, I'm open to it. But I know
Yeah.
we'll say like, you're not supposed to. And I've talked to other dancers too, and they're like, they'll be like, I'm not receptive. They don't want to hear feedback on the social dance floor. And I'm like, okay, just
Yeah.
dance friends that say that. I'm like, okay, yeah. So I guess it's one of those things where I guess if you were you could always say like, are you open to some feedback? And then if they say yes or no, then I think that leaves the door open or whatever for that. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a great way to frame it, especially because like you don't know where a person's at. You don't know what a person's, kind of maybe they're having a really off week, and that little bit of like, hey, I'm not going to ask you if you want this, but I'm going to tell you it might be helpful, but it might feel like a brick being thrown at someone who's been dealing with, bricks all week. And that's just, that may not be helpful.
yeah.
Was there anyone that you danced with that you were like, oh, I really want to dance with this person, but and not to say that they weren't good, right? But maybe like the dance chemistry just like wasn't there, Someone you were like, ooh, yeah, I don't know. You saw Dumbledore and you're like, oh, this is gonna be great, and it just wasn't magic.
Yeah, few where no, there was somewhere I would dance with them first and it was like an okay connection. And then I saw them dance with someone else afterwards, like 2 dances later, and they were like twirling someone. And I'm like, why did you do that move on me?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
So more so like I danced with them first, and later on I'm like, wait, why did we not look like that?
Like pull them off to the side. You're like, hey, so like, what's going on? Like, why didn't you do that with me? Like, what's wrong with me?
And it makes me wonder if like that sometimes if you dance with someone before that they'll like they know that the person can do that trick, so they'll do it on them.
Yeah.
And so there's one guy that was really good. I saw I was like, oh, he looks good. And when I danced with him, it was great. He started doing I don't say tricks out, like I forgot what the move's called, but these moves and that I see other people in competition do as well. And for me as a dancer, I appreciate when I'm gonna say thrown into it, but I get pushed with my like dance limits or like learning new things on the go as well. And so he was surprised that I've never done them before, because I just told him while we were dancing, like, no one's ever showed me that, so thank you.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, but I know some other dancers, they won't do that if they aren't sure if you can do that, which is probably in a way, I guess, technically safer. But I personally like to be pushed more when I'm on the dance floor.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely more of I want to be thrown into the deep end, but I'm also if I'm leading something, I'm like if I'm not confident that the person knows it or is going to be able to I'm not going to risk it. I don't feel.
How do you know, let's say we never danced together, right? How do you know when you dance with me for the first time that maybe you will try it? Is it more like if I'm holding your hand a certain way with a certain grip or like a certain connection, you're like, you know what? I feel like she knows how to intuitively do that. So I'm going to test it out on her. Or if you see someone that's maybe like someone that's super flexible and you're like, okay, they seem a bit more technically advanced, so I think I can try it.
So it's kind of like twofold. One is just the power of observation. Like I'll just like watch them if I can, I'll like see them dance with other people. I'm like, oh, what are they doing? Are they doing these things with other people? Do they do them well? Okay, yeah, cool. Like if I see someone else like lifting them and you know all kind of stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like so lifts are there, dips are you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I kind of see. I'm like, okay, cool. That tells me. But if I don't see that, I have no information, nothing to work off of. A lot of what I would do in Seattle, and for the most part, like any dance conference or like social is I'll do things to I do things that kind of mimic it. You know, like I might do a turn a certain way, and then I'll see like what are they looking for. Like you can tell a lot of people dance Latin by the way that they respond to a hair comb, the way that they respond to like the what's it, the flicks, right? Like, but some people when you do a flick, they'll just like their arm just goes all over the place, right? But people typically who dance like salsa bachata, like when you attempt to flick, they're like, oh, boom, like you do this thing, the arm goes whoop, loops around, right? Like you can kind of see, you're like, okay, this is what you do, this, you do that, right? And then you can kind of see like how do they respond to this signal or that signal. So I'll try to get feelers in the first bit of the song that tell me, okay, we can do this, but maybe we can't do that.
Yeah,
And
that's such a good point
yeah,
because when someone does I don't know what the move is, but that thing, the where you
yeah,
flick,
the little
flick the
arm
arm in bachata
flicky
and stuff like
flicks.
that,
Yeah.
right away I'll be like, I'll in the middle of dance, I can be like, have you done other dances? And usually they'll say I've done that, or I just
Mhm.
learned that move today in the workshop.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Or there's certain things like, yeah, the way they move or the way I don't know how to describe it, but the way I feel when they move me, I'm like, this is starting to feel more Latin, or this is starting to feel a bit more like Zouk or something like that.
Mhm.
And so that's when I'll ask. And there's one guy that has done, I remember he did a little bit of everything. And and I was like, do you want to fusion dance this? Have you heard of fusion? And he was like, what's that? But pretty much it was just leading, following.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was like, yeah, let's do it. And it was fun. Sometimes I'll be like, that's what I'll do. I'll be like, I'll sneak in a little fusion, even though it's like
Yeah.
this
Oh, you
thing.
know what? No, okay, that reminds me. I went to like a Zoot Kids event, and I've been like kind of going to kids, not as consistently as I should, but I've been going to kids to try to pick up another sort of like dance element. And I went to the kids like to the Zouk side, and I was like, yo, this is really cool. I wanted to learn Zouk, but I just never really had like I've danced with Zouk dancers. I went to a workshop like pre-pandemic, and that's really it. So like I've seen it, I know what it looks like, but I don't really understand it. And I had a couple people who were really gracious, kind of giving me some ideas and some pointers and some tips. Again, like you should go to a class, go to classes, go to workshops, get privates, do those things. But I just so happened to be there, so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna check it out. Maybe I'll learn something. And I danced with someone who was like, what do you dance? I was like, oh, I was like salsa and also West Coast swing, and they're like, oh, I can tell. And so we had an okay first dance, and I was like, would you like to just kind of like just like dance, lead, follow, forget about the the like the zouk, just like dance to the music? They're like, yeah, let's try. I was like, okay, right. And it was it was like night and day. It was so crazy because by the end of the dance, they're like where was all of that kind of thing? And I was like, I don't know. It was because I think because you think sometimes so much about like the specific dance itself. You're
Yeah.
like, how do I do this? That like what fusion, I feel like what fusion really should be. It should be focused on that lead follow dynamic. It should be focused on like that dance dynamic. How are we interpreting the music? How are we listening to each other? Because like even if I'm leading, I can still be led by my partner. My partner still has a voice, right? Just because I'm leading. And even if my role is, is to initiate and all that kind of stuff, kind of guide the dance and all that, I can still hear things like, oh, they like this, they prefer this, this is their preference, this is what they want. And I was able to do those things with Zouk music, just maybe not the specific, Zouk vocabulary, but it worked. And it was like, we're like, oh, like, it's like, what do you dance? What do you do? Where are you at? I'm like, yeah, I go here, I do this thing. She's like, oh, I've heard of fusion. And it ended up being this like really cool conversation and stuff. But it was like, oh, I wish I would have gotten that dance like recorded because it just stuff just like worked. It just
Yeah,
clicked.
I feel like when I watch the videos of me doing salsa or bachata or West Coast swing, the ones that require like footwork, and it's certain steps, and you look at it, you're like, man, I ain't good. I'm like I look sloppy, right?
Mhm.
Or something like that. And then I'm like, you know what? I flick on my fusion dances and I'm like, you know what? I watch them, I'm like, not bad. I feel much better about myself. And I think that's the thing about fusion. Like it's again like that mental release of like it's okay, you don't have to get, there's no really footwork, like exact footwork you have to do on certain counts or anything like that. So yeah, I think it's just us gushing about fusion and finding and discovering it, right? And I know other dancers when they discover, they're like, oh my gosh, I love it because it's so much easier that way. Also, random thing I found out myself this weekend was that I did not realize that certain outfits you might dance better in. So
Mm.
usually you see me in like yoga pants, leggings, and then like a sports top or whatever fusion, right? Because I'm kind of there to be like, let's dance in an athletic way. But
Yeah.
this one, it's more, I guess, West Coast. I started wearing those, those swishy pants, baggy pants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with like a drawstring on that. Because I've seen some people wear that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wear that. Found a pair at the store and said, like, I'm just gonna see how it goes. And I don't know why, but I just triple stepped and moved a lot more at ease with it. And I don't know if it's like it made me feel, the idea of flowy pants made me feel more flowy versus
Yeah.
it's a bit more tight. So I'm curious. I'm curious for anyone out there that's listening if they feel the same way, where like even in salsa, some people might get dressed up and they might like a little nicer than usual, and that brings out a certain side of them when they dance or how they move
Yeah.
in a salsa or bachata way, you know?
No, I think there's something to that. Actually, like, so with going back to Seattle, like all 3 nights, I kind of had outfits set, and like I was like, I'm gonna. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna wear all white on one night, wear all black on one night, and the last night I was like, ah, we're just gonna figure it out. We'll see how it goes. And just because of some different things, I kind of like had like a small, like I kind of injured my toe a little bit on the first night. So I was like, oh, it's gonna be rough. So like I couldn't like walk around super well in my in
No.
my dance shoes. So I had to like switch my my outfits. And I was like, well, I still want to wear this. So it ended up being kind of like black and white, like black, white, and then white, black, black the next day. And then the other day was like all the last one was all black. Um, and what I found is like because of the shoes, I danced differently. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
sure.
I was like, I think the first night I danced more of like a more of a I'd say like kind of hip hop oriented style, especially because like the shoes I was wearing Air Forces. So not my dance shoes. I had my dance socks on, but just like I felt more like I felt like the like more like I don't know. I don't want to say aggressive. It's not the right word for it, right? You know, I wasn't in my black Air Force energy, but I was still like I felt like I was like I don't know, the feel of the shoe connected to the floor. Like it just I felt like I was kind of like carrying myself different, and it kind of gave me a little bit more of that like that swag. Like, oh,
Yes.
let me show you like dot, you know. Then the next night I'm wearing my dance shoes. So I felt like I was more like, more flowy, more formal, kind of more like my posture was better, right? I was a little bit like up here with it, and I felt like my dances were also a lot more I don't want to say elegant, right? But like more like put together, more demure, more mindful. And then the last night was like I didn't even get to put my dance shoes on. I just had like my dance socks. And I was kind of just I've never danced like that. At least like at a social, I've never done like the whole kind of barefoot thing, right? But I was like stretching and they started playing music, so I was just kind of up. And then someone asked me to dance. Another person, and this was like the warm up, just the warm up, but it flowed into the actual social so well. I was like, I just never went back and actually changed. So I wasn't even wearing clothes I planned to dance in. It just like, but I felt like it was one, the best night of dancing I had, and two, it was like a different way of interacting. Like there were things that I was doing, and I was like, oh, I didn't actually learn this. I just kind of like pieced together this thing. Where'd that come from? So yeah, I 100% believe that what you wear can shift, can change how you dance. Do you feel
Yeah,
like when you go to socials that you want to like that you want to make sure people know, hey, I'm here to dance and that's it, or are you there because it's more of like a like you feel personally more comfortable wearing like athletic, athletic clothes?
I well, before I sometimes I'd wear dresses mainly because I was coming from dinner with
Oh,
friends. So, and
yeah,
I was like, wow, that's not if you're twirling or doing lifts, that's not really practical. And then I started, but luckily I had safety pins in my car to pin things down. But I think after that, that's when I was like, you know what? I feel like pants, you can kick or do whatever you want. Um, and I just got jazz shoes online. And so
ooh,
I'll
yeah,
see and putting them on, I'm like, oh, I feel they're very thin, right? So I feel like it's not quite dancing barefoot, but enough to be like you feel kind of you can feel the floor versus my
yeah,
dance Fuegos sneakers, right? Where it's a bit thicker and you're just not connected. But when I wouldn't say I have swag in those white shoes, but more so like I can jump, leap, whatever, that kind of stuff, but in a more athletic Nike way. Whereas these thin ones, I feel again, when I was wearing them around the house, I feel more elegant. My posture just naturally just straightened. So I do feel like that's probably gonna be a um a factor into dancing for the next fusion event.
Ooh.
What I want to talk about is how you've dealt with the high from Seattle and coming dance convention event, whatever, to back to LA and going back to a normal dance social because I just came from the Halloween swing thing, right? So it's that dance social. Just the one I went for one night only. You went to like a whole weekend, right? And I wouldn't say I had like the highest high ever. It's not like euphoric, but I remember just thinking like this is so much fun. And dancing with so many different types of people. Um, and going to sleep at 7 a.m., which is kind of ruining my my whole schedule and everything. But thinking about these I wouldn't say coming back to regular life or regular dance socials, it kind of there was like a dip or a drop, I feel like. And I don't know if I would call it depression, but or maybe sadness. And I'm like, what do you do with this? Or is it because let's say it's my first time going and next time I do a dance convention or whatever, I know what to expect and I'm exposed to it. So I know to expect like I'm gonna hit a low after this and then just like let it kind of die out, feel it, let it fade out. And then, maybe when I go to a local dance social that's on a smaller scale, the ones we usually go to just kind of come with either low or managed average expectations. Like how did you cope with that?
Uh, I'm still coping with it, but no, it was I was like, I can't do anything. Nothing's the same. No. I definitely know that like while there's that period of like I'll
It's
say
like
like
a
depression
high.
or like
It's like
sort of like
you hit a high and you're
mhm.
depressed for the next like 3 to 5 days later. And I'm like, is
Yeah.
this healthy?
I don't know if it's healthy or not, but I mean like the swing over is real. You know what I mean? Like that feeling you're just like, I am just uh it it's like I think it's just a straight up dopamine crash because like you have all of these amazing dances and these moments. You're physically super active. Your body is doing something for a long time, right? And you're going, and then for it to just not happen, I think there's almost like this. Okay, what's the next? When's the next one? When's the next high? Like when's the
Yes.
next thing? And because it doesn't happen, you have that period where like I think your body is just readjusting. Like your brain is literally like, oh, like this isn't the norm, so now I have to kind of like adjust to baseline because like maybe my local social, while amazing, it's just not the same as going for for 8 or 9 hours straight. Um, for me, a lot of it has been kind of maintaining the same normal, try to get back into my normal cadences, right? Like going to the gym really helps a lot because it's just that physical release. It's, I can kind of like get a lot of that energy out. And then also doing things that are like restorative and active, like walking, like good long walks where you're just like enjoying some time by yourself, right? Reading or like, listening to a podcast, like our podcast. Um, just like right, shameless plug. Um, but like doing things that are going to give you that sort of that sense of peace. Maybe it's meditating, right? But spending some time to just like not do anything. I think that's the best way to kind of get your baseline back to baseline quicker. Because if you're just
Yes.
looking for the next high, you're like, oh, I had this high and I need it. I think at least for me, I can kind of just like I'm like on my phone too much, or like I'm not actually sitting still and giving myself that time to adjust from that.
Great. So I did none of that on the list so far. But
Okay, all right.
because I think I just haven't figured it out. But thank you for the pointers. And last night I was putting my laundry away and I was like, you know what? I'm feeling sad. I'm gonna listen to sad music. And then I started dancing to it for a good 30 minutes. And I was like, wow, okay, I'm doing movement, but it's with sad music. So it's still dancing. Like I think you said it right. It's like a dopamine crash and you have to kind of stabilize your body, maybe give it a week. I don't know. How long did it take for you to kind of get to a moment of okay?
Ooh, I feel like I'm barely getting there now. This is what,
Oh.
like week 3, maybe, I think it is. And not to say I don't know if it doesn't always take that long, but I think it's also because I didn't really recognize that it was happening. I knew it was gonna happen, but and I think I did a good job for the first couple days where I was like, okay, I'm gonna be mindful to be intentional about saying like this was a great moment. I enjoyed it. I wrote, like, I like to do some writing and stuff. And so I'm like, okay, let me do some writing about it, journal about it. These are the things I love, the things that I would change and do better. And I'm going to let it go. But like, not remembering that just because I thought I was letting it go doesn't mean my body was like, oh, we're back to baseline. We're back to normal. So it gets very easy to kind of sit in that, like, oh, I'm alive at night. Like it's 9 o'clock. Let's go. And not be intentional. No, I need to go to sleep. I need to be getting ready to rest so I can show up for the next day and all that kind of stuff. And I think just kind of remembering, oh, I actually need to continue to maintain this is like that's the key. I think that's the tricky part for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder for people that do competitions all the time and they go to these weekend long conventions to compete and everything like once a month or even twice a month, depending on whatever season it is, that how do they how many months did they do it where they start realizing, okay, I gotta have like a routine that works for me because this is
Yeah.
not sustainable, right? Or maybe they crash and burn for the first couple months you do it, and then after all, they're like, all right, I'm competing with these conventions. After a while, it becomes like same old, maybe with
Yeah.
different people a little bit here and there. But after that, they're exposed to it and they're used to it, that they know what to expect. And they kind of
Yeah.
maybe scale back and maybe instead of doing one night of social dance, 3 nights of social dancing, they'll just do the workshops and compete. And then they'll go to bed that night and not be like, I'm gonna go party till 3 a.m. and I'll do
Yeah.
it for the last night. So it's like they learn not to crash and burn over time.
That's fun. My pastor yesterday in church, he was like, he's like talking about familiarity breeds contempt, and he was talking about a couple of things. One of them in particular, he's an example of how he's like his brother lives in Hawaii, right? He's like, how often do you go to the beach? Like you must go to the beach every day. And he's like, I haven't been to the beach in 20 years. To me, I'm like, what do you mean? Like you're in Hawaii, bro. What do you mean? But he's like, I mean, I've been here, I've seen it, I've lived here long enough that it's not special to him, right? And I think, like just like with anything, if you spend all your time in it, which is another reason I think you should try other dances, other dance scenes, you get used to it. So you're like, oh, it doesn't give you that same high, it doesn't give you that same rush, as like the first time you did it. The first time you walk into a room with 600, 700, 800 people who are all on fire about this dance thing. Like, the first time you're like, oh, this is amazing. But if you do that every weekend, you're like, oh, okay, it starts to become your new norm. And then eventually, you're probably like, oh, yeah, I don't really feel like hanging out till 3 or 4 or 5. I'm a cap it at 2. I'm gonna have great dances from like 12 to like 1, and then I'm out. I'm going to bed. You know what I'm saying? I got. You know what I mean? I think that like the more you do it, the more it can get familiar, and then the more you're maybe it doesn't mean you will have that contempt or that like I don't really care about it, but the
Yeah.
apathy can creep in for sure.
That reminds me of when I started out just a few months ago on this partner dance journey, and discovering it and going on that high. It wasn't even competition. It's just more like, oh, I can't believe I discovered this thing exists,
Yeah,
and and then I feel like I burned after a month and a half. Not a month, not burning, but more of like, oh no, the excitement has worn away. I guess it's like a honeymoon
yeah.
phase. And
It's
like
like that plateau. You hit a plateau. Yeah,
yeah. It's like a relationship with anything, right? You kind of get excited, passionate about it, and then after that, it kind of takes a dip, and you wonder if something's wrong. And then
yeah.
in reality, this is probably it's healthy that again we get to that like stable point, right?
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, and then one last thing, I just have to throw this in. It's
Ooh.
very random, but I was in the car thinking like, why? So why is it? So when we dance, when we go to like when you go to the clubs or like in social dances, I don't know why the music sounds better on the speakers, and I'll Shazam it. Listen to my car because I was like, ooh, I like the song I danced to that night, and then it does not sound the same.
Yeah,
Like I wouldn't, if I heard it on the radio or in my car, I wouldn't think I'm gonna add this to my fusion playlist, dance playlist. Whereas like on the speakers in the room, I'm like, this song sounds so epic.
yeah, yeah. I think it's just the place. Like I think it's the place that you're in, the environment that you're in, but also like the internal environment. Like
The
you're you're
acoustics.
you're like, oh, I'm ready to dance. I'm here for this. It's a bunch of people. They're all excited. They feel the same. You just kind of resonate with that. So it just amplifies. It's like why do people go to concerts? You know, it's loud. Sometimes the floors are sticky. There's all these people. Some of them don't wash their hands. Like there's traffic. Like why do you go? But like when you're there, you're in that moment. It's like we're social creatures. this is a Kaylin theory, right? But like we're social creatures, and we want to be around people who love the same thing, and it amplifies it to see the people that are part of that tribe all doing the same thing, all kind of in alignment, right? You're watching you're watching Ed Sheeran or I don't know the Glass Animals, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is my song, right? You just get so you get more into it, and maybe it's a song you're like, it's okay, it's all right. But
Yeah.
because you're in that moment with them, it just like it amplifies it. At
It's
least
like the
that's
energy's
what
different. Yeah.
yeah. It's like it feels like it's like a shift. Like the energy is just in the room, it's just amplified.
Um, so with that, if you have been to dance conventions and dealt with the highs and lows that we've been talking about, learned a better way to recover from the crash, please let us know. Please let me know. And please share this episode with a friend because it might help them navigate if they've gone through the post dance convention crash, and rate us 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. Also, we've included an awesome resource. If you don't know where the places to social dance in LA, I put on a spreadsheet so you don't have to do the research, and I'll include that all down below in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here with me and Kaylin, and we will see you next time.
Peace.